If I can get everyone's attention just for one moment, please. If I can just get your attention for one moment. I see people are coming in. You all welcome as you're coming in. If you go ahead and pick your seats, reserve them, and kind of filter so we're not congesting the front area. And we'll be getting started in about 2 minutes. We'll be getting started. All right, so go ahead and come on in, pick your seats, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll start in just a minute.
Actually, my friend Naya posted a picture of doing together in New York. One of the videos I wanted to
Can you flag? Oh, there we go. Maria? 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 Yeah, so I'm gonna do just a little some and then we're right into just the inflow. So you got this. Think of it like church.
Right. I know, but are you doing school?
No. I'm doing our liberation. I'm just doing a piece of it. No. Like here. Yeah. In every generation, they try to kill us, but the Holy One, blessed be He, He has sustained us. In every generation, they have assailed us, but the Holy One, blessed be He, He puts it down. This is the season, yeah, of all liberation. Yes, it is. Oh, this is the season. Oh, of emancipation. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is the season. Yeah. Of all liberation. And it's followed by the season of our joy. Oh, I would sing unto the Lord, for He has rescued me. For God is my strength and my song. Pharaoh and his army, he's thrown into the sea. Oh, I will sing, for He has rescued me. Yes, I will sing unto the Lord, for He has rescued me. For God is my strength and my song. Pharaoh and his army, he's thrown into the sea. Oh, I will sing, for He has rescued me. For by you, Lord, I can run against the army. Yeah. And by you, I can leap over a wall. Oh, yeah, your way is perfect, and your word proves true. You are a shield to all who take refuge in you. into the sea. Oh, I will sing, for he has rescued me. Some trust in horses, and some trust in chariots, but we'll trust in you, Lord. Yes, we will. We'll trust in you. Say some will trust, some trust in horses, some will trust in chariots, some trust. Oh, yeah, we'll trust in you, Lord. Yes, we'll trust in you. Say, we'll trust in you. Yeah. Some will trust, some trust in horses. Some will trust in chariots, some trust in chariots. Oh, yeah, we'll trust in you, Lord. Yes, we'll trust in you. We'll trust in you. Some trust in horses. Some will trust in chariots, some trust in chariots. Oh, yeah, we'll trust in you. Yes, we'll trust in you. We'll trust in you. Oh, I will sing unto the Lord, for he has rescued me. For God, you are my strength, you are my song. He will put down all rebellion and destroy our enemies. Oh, I will sing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here tonight for the event Free the Captives. We're so glad you all could join us the day before Passover. It's why we picked the timing. It's such crucial timing, especially with everything that's going on right now. We are praying that the captives are freed, just like the captives back during the original Passover were freed. Amen. Amen. All right. You just heard music from Joe Davi. We're going to also be welcomed with some speakers, our CEO at IBSI, as well as a member of Club Z. And then also you're going to hear from one of our partners. And then we're going to hear from, of course, our keynote speaker, Simon. Yes, that's what we're going to be doing for tonight. We want to say thank you to all of our supporters and our partners, our continuous donors, our occasional donors, everyone who supported and made this event possible tonight. We want to thank the hosts of the household as well for allowing us to be here. Thank you so much for opening up your home. Thank you so much. So like I said, next we're going to hear from Rachel Rubin and then our CEO, and then we're going to continue on with the rest of the night. I wanted to also mention one of our special partners, the African Jewish Alliance. This event wouldn't have been possible without them, and a lot of what we're doing now with IBSI would not be possible without them as well. So we want to have a special call out to them. If you're not aware of them, please look them up, africanjewishalliance.org, correct? They're doing some great, awesome work, and we're so glad that they're partnering with us as we all continue on in this struggle together. So next we're going to invite up Rachel Rubin and continue on with the evening.
Good evening. My name is Rachel, and I'm the president of Club Z. And today I would like to share what my life looked like before October 7th versus after that horrific day. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and more specifically, I grew up running the halls of the Charlotte Jewish Community Center. Although I ate kosher food, learned Hebrew, studied Torah, and had a large surrounding Jewish community, I thought nothing of it. I thought this was an experience that every Jewish kid lived through. When I graduated 5th grade and attended public school, I unfortunately lost touch with my Jewish identity and only celebrated the high holidays. It was only when I met an extremely loud, caring, Christian South African woman did I regain my love for not only Judaism, but Zionism. In 8th grade, I joined Club Z, which was taught by the amazing Mrs. Olga Washington at the time. After a short year, on May 10th of 2020, Hamas gave Israel a huge ultimatum. Mrs. Washington told the teens of Club Z and I that this was our time to host rallies, give speeches, and hold our hands in support of Israel and her people. From that moment forward, my interest and involvement grew because I saw that our mission was not only spread our message, but do so with love and with courage. At Club Z, with learning sessions called Institutes, I started to pay closer attention and learn debate skills for when I'm facing anti-Semitism and facts and history of the Jewish people in our homeland. After another year of being very comfortable in Club Z, another Washington took over our Club Z chapter, Mr. Josh Washington. He led us in just as many high intellect conversations and many anti-Israel events we counter-protested at. I had never been so involved with my Jewish community as I was towards the end of my 9th grade year. The next 2 years looked the same. Institutes, socials, go-kart races which we all lost to Mrs. Washington, but most importantly, the growth of a teen Zionist army. Saturday, October 7th, I was driving to work, like any normal Saturday. I checked my phone when I got to work and was completely bombarded by a post after post that Israel had wrongfully attacked the people of Gaza and that we, the Jewish people, are committing a mass genocide. That was all the information I was given from TikTok University and Instagram High School. Upon doing research of my own, I discovered the true horrific story about what Hamas had done that morning and decided that something needed to be done. With the help of the amazing team board at Club Z, we organized the first pro-Israel event in Charlotte within 24 hours of the attack with 119 people in attendance. Following that rally came 3 more well-organized rallies with larger numbers and more time to plan it. Unfortunately, 197 days later, over 130 of the hostages taken by Hamas remain in captivity. The story of captivity is a story that is well known amongst the Jewish people. It's a story that ends in freedom. Let My People Go became a reality. Thank you to IBSI and the African Jewish Alliance for bringing us all together today to learn about how we can work together for freedom of the Israeli hostages and the very many Africans in slavery today. I owe Club Z a thank you for the dedication to raise me as a proud Zionist Jew. It is way more than a club. It is my family, and I can openly and proudly say that if it was not for Club Z and the 2 Christian Zionists who opened my eyes, I would not be where I am today. I'm determined to continue and learn and continue to demand the Let My People Go until all those in captivity, Jews and non-Jews, are set free. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Washington, the Executive Director of IBSI. I'm going to welcome now our CEO and founder, Pastor Jimmy Simon Washington, for a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and Chag Sameach to all our Jewish brothers and sisters. I know we're just less than 24 hours away from the beginning of Passover. So I want to again thank everyone for coming on this evening, and also especially our special guest, Mr. Simon Deng. I followed his work for years. It's my first time ever getting to meet him, so I get to meet him along with you all, so I'm honored. As well as I want to again acknowledge our dear friend, Mr. Charles Jacobs. Those of you who don't know him, Charles, among the many things he's done for decades now, has been on the front lines of this cause of freeing African slaves. Charles is a Jewish man who's done amazing work. He received one of the humanitarian awards he received was actually given to him by Coretta Scott King. It's around 2003 or 4. You can Google it. You'll see his picture there. The man should be enshrined somewhere, but we'll talk more about him another time. But again, I want to thank you all for coming. I was considering what I would just share with you just for a moment here, and among the many things that have been kind of going through my heart and mind as we are gathered at this auspicious occasion, but at a very solemn time, right? As I share with my son, particularly for us, we have the honor and the privilege of having the gift of music. It could be a celebratory thing. We were in a synagogue in LA. I can't remember the name of it, Joshua, right now. Wilshire Boulevard Synagogue a few months ago. And we had a celebration. Everything post October 7th has had this heaviness to it, but at the same time, the celebration that is of life, right? So at the one hand, you're acknowledging the crucialness of everything that's happening. But at the same time, we as people of faith are also grateful for life. And so those things mix in the room often, right? But they're needed. I was considering the text, the Passover, what the sages call the first redemption. And what has enriched my life as a pastor and a Bible teacher is my relationship with my Jewish brothers and sisters, seeing and understanding the text from their perspective, which is the original perspective. And so one of the things that struck me several years ago was that in the Talmud, the sages teach that at the time of the oppression of the Hebrews in Egypt, that the people were praying for a deliverance from God. He literally tells Moses, I've heard the cry of my people. And the Talmud goes on to say that the Pharaoh's magicians told Pharaoh that a Messiah was coming. They could divine in the stars that something was happening, maybe as a result of these Hebrews' prayer. And so this was part of the oppression that Pharaoh then did to the people. He was trying to keep the deliverer from actually coming and delivering the Hebrews. And that when Moses was born, the sages say that the magicians went back to Pharaoh and they told him that the deliverer has been born, but we don't know whether he is Hebrew or Egyptian, which is why I believe it's Rashi who says, the text says, so when the babies were thrown into the Nile, it doesn't say the Hebrew babies were born in the Nile. It says the boys were thrown into the Nile. And the sages surmised that it was because both Hebrews and Egyptians were thrown in the Nile because Pharaoh wanted to be thorough, just in case the deliverer came from Egypt and not from the Hebrews. And the first thing that came to my mind is what I believe Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs from the UK, what starts with the Jews rarely ends with the Jews. When Pharaoh's oppression of the Hebrews began, other than Shiphrah and Puah, the midwives who were spoken of, it would appear that not many within the Egyptian community spoke out about the oppression of the Hebrews. But according to the sages, if we can lean on that as an understanding, by the time Pharaoh's maniacal ways had set in, he began to destroy everyone, not just the Hebrews. Is this not what happened with Hitler? Is this not what has happened with those who've come against the Jewish people time and time again, that they may have started with the Jewish people, but then the Christians and the other Lutherans and the other Mormons, and it never ends. And what we see here is that humanity demands that when we see a people marginalized, demonized, like at Columbia University and New York University and at UC Irvine and UCLA and campuses across the country, each of those students there, regardless to whether or not they're Jewish, regardless of whether or not they support Israel, they have to understand that they're coming for these Jewish kids on these campuses. I'm going to be next. If they are not safe, we are not. Dr. King said it in his speech, in his letter from Birmingham jail. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This is why people stand up, not just because it's their religious sect or their ethnic background or whatever, but whoever it is that's being marginalized, demonized, and unfairly treated in any type of free society, they have to understand that it's coming for them as well. I learned the phrase from my Jewish friends, first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. When we talk about Islamic terrorism, do you understand that in those parts of the world, the people who suffer the most are other Muslims? Other Muslims are oftentimes the people are being slaughtered, as well as Christians, Jews that may still be in those areas, right? This is why now, like ever before, people of any type of conscience have to speak. They have to say something now, because tomorrow's too late. So you and I are here tonight to remind ourselves of why it's so important to speak. Why, for those of you who will be gathering around the Seder table, why those principles are so powerful. I'll share this one last thing. I'm a pastor. I could talk for a long time, but I'll be finished here. It's dawned on me for years that the Seder is not a commemoration of how big and bad Pharaoh was. The focus of the Seder is not Pharaoh. The focus of the Seder is not the Egyptians. The focus is on how God delivered the Hebrews from Pharaoh, from bondage. So the Egyptians are only mentioned in the actual Haggadah in the sense that you need to understand this is what happened and this is what God did. This is where we were, this is where we are. This is what hope is born from. Not just what's happening, but what can happen tomorrow. What it can look like. It doesn't have to remain here in a state of brokenness and ashes. I believe it's Isaiah who said he gives beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. That comes from the Hebrew prophets that says in the midst of ashes, God is the only one who can then raise something up beautiful in the midst of that. You and I are here to see something beautiful in the midst of the ashes. And I want to thank you for coming because your presence here reminds us that that darkness doesn't win. Light dispels it. It dispels it every single time. Thank you so much for bringing your light here today.
Man has found himself between being alive and being free. Looks his captor in the face. Says I'll be buried in my grave before you put me in those chains. You can put me in the ground. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem. See the new Jerusalem. 3 Hebrew boys are meant to choose between a lie and what is true. Stand up tall before the King. Says you can throw us to the flames. It makes no difference what you do, 'cause we will never bow to you. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem. See the new Jerusalem. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem. See the new Jerusalem. And the sword shall be heard in the cities of Judah and in the streets of as the song shall be heard in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. Yeah. Long ago we have resolved to serve nobody else but God, to never fall into again the evil wicked hands of man. It seems we've lost this war, my brothers, but I will not perish by their sword. I'd rather die in a state of freedom than hand my life over to Rome. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem. See the new Jerusalem. Worship in Jerusalem.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. He is the reason why I'm still in America, not in South Africa. For those that don't know the story, I was only supposed to come study for 18 months, go back to South Africa, met the man, 2 kids later, here we still are. Thank you for your ministry, sir. My job is to introduce the distinguished speaker that we have this evening with us. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Olga Mishra Washington. I already explained, the wife to this handsome young man, and also privileged to be a daughter of the Washington family here in the United States, a family that's not just about the talking, but also about the doing. And as part of the work that the Washingtons do, we, under the leadership of Pastor Dumisani Washington, have the privilege of serving in the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And together with our partners, Club Z, as well as AJA, the African Jewish Alliance, we are privileged that you've joined us here. In introducing this evening's speaker, allow me to reflect on a song that my boys had their gogo, their grandmother, introduced to them. And it's a song that we've had on repeat for the whole day today. I don't know all of the words yet, but I'm going to try, because there's a particular phrase, I believe that it's the chorus, that the boys absolutely love. And it says, Mom, you're going to have to help me. But your mama, there we go. But your mama always said, look up to the sky. I'm missing the words. But your mama always said, look up to the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day. Let's do it again. But your mama always told you, I'm messing the words up. But anyway, it goes, your mama said basically, your mama always told you, look up to the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day. And as I listened and the boys were singing, I was like, here's an instruction, find find the sun on a cloudy day. Not maybe, it's there, not try. It's an instruction to find the sun on a cloudy day. And if you watch the lyrical video, it's animated, the sun like peels back the clouds and appears. And everybody that's watching is in jubilation. And so here we are, post October 7, a day that many people were in wonder and aghast and in absolute despair. So how did this happen? How did this happen? Babies beheaded and children and mothers burnt. And I learned over the weekend that a very good friend of mine, the lady that we've read in the news about whose breasts were cut off as she was being raped, was her friend. So the reality of it and the depravity of it. But those of us that are students of history know that this ideology is not because of the rebirth of the state of Israel in 1948. It's got nothing to do with that. I say that because this ideology, this hate that we saw on October 7 happened with the 1929 Hebron massacre. It happened in the 1940s in Iraq, the Furqud. But ladies and gentlemen, it's also been happening on the African continent. We're going to hear from Simon as to the atrocities that befell the Jewish people on October 7 are atrocities that his people, that the people of Africa have seen. If you haven't yet seen it, I encourage you to read his article that was published in Tablet magazine a couple of months ago, titled, First they came for my people, thank you, and then they came for the Jews. First they came for my people, and then they came for the Jews. 2014, the whole world up in arms. Bring back our girls, bring back our girls. Even former First Lady Michelle Obama chose that as her first tweet on the platform Twitter. Almost 10 years later, ladies and gentlemen, of those 276 girls that were kidnapped by Boko Haram, an evil that is akin to ISIS, an evil that is akin to Hamas, over 100 young ladies still in captivity. That was 2014. 2018, the same evil befell another group of young ladies, their fault, their only sin, going to school. There's a young lady from those kidnappings in 2018. Her name is Leah. We've got a wonderful painting of her in the room next door. That young lady, today, 3 babies later, still in captivity. So we sit here and we say, okay, but where is this? Where is the sun behind the clouds that we have to find? Because find it we must. Well, it's a sun that we are reminded that can be found by virtue of the story of the Hebrews, who in Egypt cried out for over 430 years for their freedom. And guess what? Their freedom came. And so together, as we put our voices, as we put our hearts and our hands and learn and educate the over 130 young people, old people, women, fathers still in captivity in Gaza will be free. God willing also, the 100, just over 100, depending on where you look, 100,000, but across the continent, 1 million slaves in captivity today, they too will be free. And so when I think about, but Lord, what can I do? And you might be thinking here, but what can we do? There's a story that I, as a Christian, grew up learning. And it was a story when there were 5,000 people in front of Jesus. Only 5,000 men. There were still women and children who had to be fed. And the question was, who was going to feed them? What were they going to do? And there was a little boy who brought what he had to Jesus. It was 2 loaves, or rather 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. How are 2 little fish and 5 loaves of bread going to feed people? But that wasn't the question that was in his mind. He brought what we had. What do you have that you can bring today? As an example, I'm grateful to see somebody that I can call friend, Marcy, who even though a couple of months ago was like, nah, I'm not going to teach, I can't teach, she stepped up to the plate. And there she is doing an incredible, incredible job with the Club Z teens. Youngsters who on their own, when the world was still reeling from October 7, who were youngsters who were leading a rally on October 8. They were ready for the fight. There's many other young people, older people. I see Lynn, I see so many of us here in the room, that as we continue to present that which we have, our 5 loaves of bread and our 2 fish, that can feed the 5,000, that can ensure that the captives are set free. And so on that note, I'd like to read the incredible resume. It's just an extract from it of our distinguished guest. Mr. Simon Deng is a refugee from Sudan and a survivor of child slavery. A native of the Shilluk Kingdom in southern Sudan, Deng spent several years as a domestic slave in northern Sudan. Frequent raids by the Sudanese army displaced his family and neighbors from their village, causing them to take refuge in the city of Malkal. There, a 9-year-old Deng was kidnapped and sold as a slave in the country's north. As an adult, Deng worked as a messenger in the Sudanese parliament and later became a national swimming champion. His work as an activist began when he started protesting the injustices perpetrated against Sudanese Africans in Khartoum. In March 2016, launched the Sudan Freedom Walk, trekking 300 miles from the United Nations headquarters in New York City to the capital of Washington, D.C., to call for an end to slavery and genocide in Sudan. Then embarked on a fact-finding and humanitarian aid mission in southern Sudan and Darfur, where he met with leading southern Sudanese officials, including President Salva Kiir. Deng created a European version of the walk later that year and walked from Brussels to The Hague, calling on the International Criminal Court to press charges against President of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, for war crimes. The Sudan Freedom Walk returned in the fall of 2010, and Deng advocated for a free and fair vote for Southern Sudanese independence. He is an active reconciliator, wanting to see the reconciliation of the peoples of Southern Sudan, and thank God this was achieved with independence from Sudan in 2011. In 2014, or rather 2024, in January, he also led a march in Jerusalem, showcasing the fact that here were Africans standing in solidarity with the Jewish people. So, ladies and gentlemen, amongst many things that you're going to hear tonight, please take home with you, and so I personally, as an African, want to thank you, that when we have a people like South Africa taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, calling Israel all sorts of libels, here is a man who's experienced extreme evil, standing up and saying, no, here are Africans standing in support and love for the Jewish people. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Simon Deng.
Thank you very much. Sometimes, as a human being, I'm weak when things being said like that. But that's the reality of life. Word like that give a person a comfort to stand up and do more. The introduction being made, all I would have to say is thanks to all of you, and thank you to the young peoples to be here tonight. I'm honored to stand before you, and I thank you to listen to my stories. I'm from Sudan. I'm a Shilluk by tribe. I'm a Christian. I come from a country where human beings are sold into the slavery for $10. That's a fact. It was even said by the United Nations, not me. All I know, we are being given away as gift. Sudan is no longer one country today. Sudan is two countries. Northern Sudan, African Christians. Southern Sudan is African Christians. And Northern Sudan is the Islamics. Because most of you is not aware that Sudan is the only country in the continent of Africa as an Islamic state next to Iran. Think about a young person at the age of 9 that you know. That child that we know that is an angel being kidnapped by somebody, put away in a place where he or she cannot say no to anything. And all you have to do to survive is to say yes, and yes to buy time. And this is probably happening to some of the kids being kidnapped by Hamas. And that happened to me, the person who stands before you today with this beautiful suit. I was kidnapped from Southern Sudan, and I was taken to the Northern Sudan by an Arab man, and he went and gave me away to his relative as a gift. We all know gift does not include a human being, but in the eyes of the Sudanese Muslims, Arabs, a black child can be a gift. A black child is not a child, it's a piece of property. And it happened to thousands of Southern Sudanese. And that led to Sudan to be divided into two, because the Southern Sudanese could not take it no longer. They lost 4 million of their own loved one. We all know Hitler slaughtered 6 million Jewish. That's an evil. The Islamic government of Sudan slaughtered 4 million Southern Sudanese and takes hundreds of thousands into their slavery. That's an evil. I personally, I survived the atrocity being committed with my peoples. The same things when I saw on October 7th, something is not new to me because I have seen it. We lived through it. Of course, people will be wondering. Then as a child at the age of 9, now you're a slave, what you have to do? Of course, I was forced to do things that where a child cannot do physically. Example, in that village of Peshishoya, they don't have running water. People get water from the river Niles. And the donkeys are always carrying the water from the rivers to the houses. That job become mine. I'm the first to get up in the morning and the last person to go to sleep, even that I don't have a regular place as a human being. I was constantly being tortured, being beaten, even by the kids in my age. For fun, they will decide it in Arabic, Dugalabit, which is beat their slaves. And all I have to do is to cry for the mercy. For 3.5 years, everything is darkness, no mercy. Thank God that that family have to move from the village because their son have to go to the junior high school, where in that village they didn't have junior high school, so they have to move to the big city, a city of Kosti in northern Sudan. And it was in that village, that city of Kosti, where I saw the 3 gentlemen that happened to have the Shuluk tribal marks in their forehead, and I didn't have one at that time, by the way. When I saw them, that's the miracle that I was looking for. I went to them to tell them that I'm a Shuluk boy. I tell them my mom name, my dad name. I'm assuming that they know my family. Of course, I was disappointed when they told me that they don't know my mom, they don't know my dad. And I felt bad. Probably I thought I didn't explain myself properly to them. Now they don't believe me. And then the tears was running down in my eyes. One man comes and put his arm to console me, tell me, don't cry. There is a gentleman who came from the village that you mentioned to us. We will go and talk to him, and tomorrow we will come and we will meet you here. Of course, that's the only thing. All I have to do, take their word. That day I was there before them, and here they come. That person happened to be somebody that I knew back then in the village. He couldn't believe his eye to see a child which the funeral has been made for that child, because my dad did put offer 10 cow to anyone who will come and tell him his son. And that person will be rewarded. 2 years come and pass by, nobody came to claim their 10 cows. And my family went on to put together a funeral of their lost child without knowing whether he alive or he dead. That's why that gentleman was crying. He promised me that I should not tell my slave master family that I met somebody that I know, because he's going to work and will take me out from there. In other words, he came and kidnapped me again and take me to Southern Sudan because he didn't met my slave master family. To make it very short, we are in a world full with headache. People are look peoples, but in the eyes of their eyes, they don't see others as peoples. When October 7th happened, I was in New York. See the image. It is exactly brought back what I know as a child in Southern Sudan. And I said to myself, here we go again. Here we go again. The same very people, the same very slogans. Allahu Akbar, God is great. Of course, I'm not a government. I have nothing to go and give the government of Israel to go and defend themselves. I decided I have to go to Israel. Even it was not easy to get the flight right away. I got a flight, it was canceled, and it was canceled. Eventually, I went to Israel. And I told my friends, I'm just going to be there in solidarity. I'm going there to cry with family of hostages. That's all, because to tell them, I've been there. But keep two things in your souls: cry and keep hope and patience. Miracle may happen, sometimes may not. But the only thing that you have is hope. And that's exactly what I share with some of the family in Tel Aviv, where there was gatherings at the art museums. And I said, that is not enough. I'm going to walk so that everybody in Israel will see, even that not all of them will see. And I was joined by my fellow Southern Sudanese. People that I never met before, they come and join. And we walk from Tel Aviv all the way to Jerusalem. The walk supposed to take 3.5 days to 4 days. We did it in 2 days. With no complaint of anyone. The good things of it we found is when people will stop their car on highway to come and say thank you, to cry with us. They could not even believe it. To me, that will give me, like I did my part, the part that she talked about before. Because each and every one of us can do something. Question is, what? Question is, do you have a will to do it? Because there is a way. Even with a small scale on your part, you can do it. Hamas is an evil and should not being tolerated, even that the government of the United States here pressuring the government of Israel to talk about the ceasefire. Ceasefire of what? Ceasefire of what? I said it when I was in Israel. Any ceasefire with Hamas is the victory to Hamas. My fellow human being, sometimes we forget. It was in Sudan, the country that I came from, when the Islamic world and the Arab world met in Khartoum and put together 3 no. Some of the young fellow don't know 3 no. No 3 no's. Some people will say no 3 no's. No to Israel. No peace to Israel. No recognition to Israel. And no negotiation with Israel. And for the government of Sudan does not call Israel as Israel. They call them Beledad Adu, the country of enemy. These things didn't change. Then ceasefire with who? Ceasefire is giving arm to Hezbollah, giving arm to Jamal Islamiyah, giving arm to Houthis in Yemen, giving a victory to the big father, the Iran. Because all those small, tiny Boko Harams and others, Iran, today we're speaking, funded 11 terrorist organizations. 11 terror organizations. And their mission is very clear. The first things, kill the Jews and death to America. Any single American talk about we have to negotiate with these people, something wrong with that person. If the president of the United States talk about let have ceasefire with the terrorists, let's vote him out. Israel fighting American war. Some people is not aware of it. Israel fighting a war to those who believe in freedom. Israel surrounded by almost 400 million enemies. And I said it to the group one time, nothing will happen to Israel. I'm a Christian, I'm not a Jew. I believe that place is a holy land. If any person who is Christian doesn't believe in Israel and Jews, he's not a Christian. Because it is in the Bible. So anybody who talk about kill the Jews, which means that he's going to come and kill the Christians. I stand with Israel for simple reasons. I went to refugee camps, taking food and bringing people back from slavery. There is a young girl, 11 years old. In the evening, he came, he had no clothes on him. He come and then, telling me about her dreams. Her dream is to go to schools and become a doctor and go to Israel. Yes, go to school, I got it. Become a doctor, I got it. But go to Israel to do what? So I have to digest the word go to Israel. So I walk and I ask him, then if you go to school and become a doctor, why do you want to go to Israel? And he turned to me in African language, these are our peoples. I didn't say anything. Knowing that that little girl, she will never go to schools, because in the place where she was, there is no hope for schools. She will never become a doctor, because if there is no school, how can you become a doctor? And she will never see Israel, because she doesn't know where Israel is located in the map, because she doesn't know the map. I came back from there. I have to find my way just to please myself. This girl cannot do what she dreamed. I'm a free man, living in a free country with the free peoples. I can do what a free person can do, which I was not in a position. And I went to Israel for that little girl. 2 months later, Southern Sudanese walked, dodging the Egyptian bullet, because they was demanding some kind of form of answer from the United Do Nothing Nations as a refugee status. So the gatherings in the park in front of the United Nations in Cairo, they call it Umar Mahmoud, something like that park. The Egyptian government, with agreement with the United Do Nothing Nations, they came in the night to evacuate these peoples, and 117 people was killed, including kids. To them, there is no difference between the enemy that they ran away from Sudan, and there is no difference from Egyptian. The only person that can look up as a friend is Israel. But how will you go there? They took the risk. And eventually, numbers went from 100 to thousands. And the Muslims, they came. The Muslims followed them. We have thousands of Muslim Sudanese in Israel today. Guess what? The government of Israel, not the Israelis, not the Jews, the government of Israel, which I will be still talking to them, accommodate the Muslims in Israel and rejected the Christian Southern Sudanese. I couldn't believe it. Without knowing these people, I know these peoples. The no's, the 3 no's was made by these peoples. The Southern Sudanese, the 4 million was slaughtered. They were slaughtered for simple 2 reasons. They refused to convert to Islam, and they are collaborated with the Jews. And indeed, maybe it is true. In 1969, it started in 1968. It was the Israeli government who came for the first time to help the Southern Sudanese freedom fighters, give them tools to defend themselves. At that time, the Sudanese Muslims are fighting side by side with the Egyptian against Israel. These are the very people that Israel is taking in today. So when the little girl talk about these are our people, yes, it is true. If they are not our people, why they didn't come and help us? So for us, and for me in particular, even that I'm one person, I'm going to stand by any means necessary to support Israel, because according to the little girl, these are our peoples. And Israel today needs support of every single one of us. And we should not hold it to ourselves. Let's talk to others. Let's talk to others. I've seen it in the eyes of the families. The terror, the same terror I have seen in my families and other family in Southern Sudan. When a little boy being taken, a little child being taken, an elders being taken. It is better to be killed so that you forget. Because he's not going to come back. But now you are assuming that he is still alive and you don't know. And some of them, we are not going to see them. These are the people that we have to sit down and talk with them and make a ceasefire? Hell no. Hamas is an evil. Iran is the head of evils. And I was not happy with the work Israel did before, but they know what they're doing. But Hamas should not be left alone. The 4 battalions, which is still alive today, all of us, let's call Israel, go after them, clean it up. Thank you very much.
You guys, Simon, thank you so much for speaking with us. And you guys, if you want to, I want to open up the floor for some questions from you all. So I hope you guys have been thinking and as he's been speaking, if that's okay with you, Simon, do you want to continue standing with us? Okay. So if you have a question, stand and just try to project a little bit. We have about right now about 500 people who are watching, which is great. So that people are watching it. So make sure that
We should have thought that we were speaking before.
Yes.
Mr. Deng, I'm honored to hear you and heartbreaking the story of I have a question. I sort of felt like you jumped from when you were this little boy and you met these people to what happened October 7th. But on a personal level, I want to know what happened there, how you got out of it, you're reuniting with your parents, and that story. If you can just.
Yep, it is a good question, and usually I was trying to squeeze because of the times and so on. As I was saying before that I didn't get myself out by myself because, let's face it, at that time when I am always being tortured and beaten, in Sudan there is, in every country, not only in Sudan, in every country there is a picture of human being in a currency. In every country. In Sudan, there is a picture of human being in 25 cents, which is 25 British in Arabic at that time. There has a picture of a person with no legs and no arm. Every time I'm being tortured, they will bring that note and put it in my face. And then they will keep telling me that if you try to run away, you have nowhere to go. We will capture you and we'll cut your legs and we'll cut your arm and you will look exactly like that. As a child, that terrified me. The beating is nothing. The beating is nothing. So, and when I go to school, kids will say, why you didn't escape? I cannot escape after I've seen what I'm being told. I was being given an offer by the slave master that if I want to be treated like a human being, I have 3 choices. Convert to Islam, which is, I will take it. Get the Arab name, I will take it. And you become our son. That one is a no-no. I came from a big family. I have brothers and sisters, mothers who love me so dearly. How can I sell my identity? Since I cannot say no, all I have to tell them, yes, I will let you know. Buying time. So when the miracle happened and the gentleman took me back to Southern Sudan, I remember very well when we went to our house where my mom is. My mom was in a tukul, which is, we call it tukul, it's a hut in English, but it's tukul. She was cooking. My little sister, she started crying, calling my names. And my mom was come, she could not walk. She was falling down because she cannot believe what she is seeing. A child already, the funeral being made, and now appear from nowhere. From there, I didn't stay in the town. I have to go to the village. The first thing I did is to have the Shilluk tribal mark in my face, for the simple reasons. If somebody will capture me tomorrow, will not be thinking about that, I will be there because I am a Shilluk. Nothing going to change this. Even my family is not agreeing for that. I did it in secretly. Because in my mind, every single Arab person is there for me to capture me. I didn't know the meaning of slave, by the way. Even when they called me Abid, I didn't know. I didn't know. So eventually, there was peace agreement being made between the North and the South in 1972, where now the movements, everybody moving between the North and South, there is no problem. There is no anybody fighting no one. And the only persons still afraid is me. So I have to break that cycle of fear. And I come from Southern Sudan all the way to Khartoum, passing the area where I was being enslaved in Kostik. And I got a job in the parliament as a messenger. And from there, and I went to pursue the sport of swimming. I was taken by my friend who happened from the Nuba Mountain, but he's a Muslim. Guess what? I was rejected. I was thrown out from the public pools. My clothes were thrown in the street. That pool is not for the slaves. And brought everything back, even to the point that I have to see to myself, maybe there is something that they see that I'm a slave. And my friend said, all right, every time when I finish practice, we will go to the Nile. We will go to the Nile. And I took it just, I want to prove a point that I'm not a slave. I'm no longer a slave. And by the way, I didn't let anybody know that I was a slave. I kept it to myself. The only thing, the word that always terrifies me when I see the word is slaves. That word up to today, migrate to New York, still living in closet, met Dr. Charles, working with Charles on behalf of the other peoples, not me. Even a friend of mine, he passed away, Dr. Samuel Cottons, who was doing a research. And then he came up from the paper that he got from the United Do Nothing Nation that you can buy a human being for $10. And he put it in New York Sun. When I saw that papers, brought everything back. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I have to call the paper. Who is that person? They say he's not working with us, but he always field writers. I give them my address, my phone numbers. Later on, he called me about 3 days later. We met. And he wrote an article based on what I was talking on behalf of others, but I was talking about myself. And Dr. Charles wrote on New York Times, and the whole things emerged. And other newspapers pick it up. The Baltimore Sun pick it up. Everything pick it up. But still, I was still in hiding. Until when I realized that there is something is not being said by the government of Southern Sudan, then I have to expose the idea of this slavery. To a point that one of the bishops, he passed away recently, Bishop Makram, he was exiled by the government of Sudan because he stood up against the slavery in the country. A bishop. The Prime Minister of Sudan admit to Ted Koppel's ABC News, Nightline, yet slavery exists, but the African take Arab kids and the Arab take African kids, which is a joke. How can African Arab kids, you chasing them away with guns and so on? They don't have no village. You're burning their village. How come? But these are what happened in that country. And that is what I make the whole thing as my call, because I'm a free man living in a free country with among free peoples. And because of what we did, we managed to convince the government of the United States, thank God to the President George W. Bush, which he made it clear to me that, Simon, we're going to end this war. So if the government of Sudan blaming the war, blaming the slavery on the war, we're going to stop the war. And he kept his promise. And peace was being imposed on the Sudanese and on the Africans. And Southern Sudan today is a free nation. It's a free people. Even that they have their own problem, thank God that they are free people. But we still have people in bondage. We still have people. We have thousands still in bondage. And that's why when you see somebody being victimized, say something. I come from New York, they said, see something, say something. That's all you can do. I work as a lifeguard in New York. When somebody calling for help, I will not hesitate. I will not even question what kind of help you need. I always go to rescue. Thank you. I hope I answered half of your question.
Just a couple more, yes. I see Greg and then Rachel.
So just to follow up on something you said, you mentioned that when you went to that swim school, they called you Abid. I know that in Arabia they call all black people Abid. Is that the same in northern Sudan?
And this is some people who doesn't know the Arab language, even that the Arab language is very complicated language. That's why there is no any international agreement being always put in Arabic, and it's an agreement, because one word can change into three things in Arabic. According to the Arabs, in their eyes to Islam, any black persons, no matter what, he is an Abid. A man is an Abid, a woman is a Khadim, which is the same word. And I give you examples. When President of Egypt, Anwar Sadat, when he said to Egyptians that when Egyptians buried a soldiers, they buried a son of somebody. When Israeli buried their soldiers, they buried a son of somebody. We have to bring an end to this, and I'm going to say the private Friday prayer in Jerusalem. Arab couldn't believe it. Even Israeli didn't believe it. And he did. And peace was being made between Egyptians and Israel. What did the Arab respond to that? They're calling him all the name Abid, because he's a little bit darker. Abid, the son of Abid, and so on. We are going to walk away, and then they remove Arab leaks out of Egypt. He said, take it out. Take it out. But this is what Arab don't want to hear. It was said by their own prophets, Arab ashaddan khufran wa nifaq. Arab are the most hypocrite. Why I said that? Because they went back and took back the Arab League back now to Cairo. So any black persons in the eye, even the President Obama, the president of the free world, in their eyes, Abid, because of the color.
My question was.
First of all, before your question, thank you very much for your stand, and thank you for what you're doing. And get more racial, please.
My question is that after the life that you've lived and the courage that you've showed over and over again, what would you say to people that don't have that courage and need a nudge to be able to spread their message in support of Israel?
And this is what I said before. Do something and you can see the reward from somebody. when somebody will say that, thank you. When somebody will say that you did a good job. Like what you say before to people that you follow, you say thank you to them. That is all we need. That's all, because we are into one another. Walking away from some things, no, it is not. And I said, when I said they come to my people and then they come to you for you, it is exactly that. Because if somebody is bullying somebody, do you think that bully will stop there? He's going to bully another person and bully another person. That's why Iran need to be stopped, and then Hamas need to be defeated.
Getting signals from my boss at IBSI.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, is there around the room anybody? I lost one.
I'm so grateful that you're here. You really provided a lot of clarity for me about this topic. It's very complex. One of the things we can't square this circle, and I've had to do every lot. There are across the university campuses, in the United States, people of color who are standing shoulder to shoulder in these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine marches. And it is doubly perplexing because they're standing there with bare midriff or shorts on, waving the Palestinian flag, and they're people of color. And their narrative is, it's the evil white people, and we all must stand in solidarity against them. And then they identify Jews in Israel as being all white, which is not true. I'm Jewish, I'm white, but a lot of my Jewish brethren are not. I mean, we're a spectrum of people. And so the thing I'm trying to understand is, and even the university professors, where is the disconnect coming from that this can be so grossly misunderstood in a country that is supposed to be academically enlightened?
Thank you for your question, and it is exactly what I was talking with Reverend Washington before. And this is where IBSI and AJA are trying to come and bring it together. And I said it in Israel's, in Menachem Begin's center, but 10 years ago, that Israel needs people to speak on their behalf. Because if an Israeli, a Jew person, defending himself over and over, he's still a person. I find that when I went to South Africa to stand up to somebody that I admire, somebody that I look up to, somebody who is a holy person. I'm talking about late Bishop Tutu. He fought, but again, he became blind. When he was being carried around to be the champions of divestments against Israel, as an Israel as apartheid, just said, come on, give me a break. He was leading a rally in Boston, 500,000. I went from New York, flew to I didn't get a chance to debate him. So I have to go to South Africa. And I debate him. What I did before that, I have to go and see the residence of the bishop. Is it open residence? No doors? No, there are cameras. There is all these big solid gates. Then bishop is an apartheid bishop. Because he called Israel an apartheid, he said, because they're building the wall. And the wall that I campaigned for it. I told my dear friends, Natan Sharansky, let's build the wall to have it. If somebody come in, we have to know who is that person. At that time, Israeli were saying, oh, it's very expensive, very costly, and then, but it will cost you life. And it did come as a reality. So what is happening in all the colleges should not come as a surprise to you. It's not a surprise to me. It is a movement of Islamization. It's a movement of Islam taking all over. When you have elected officials, the most powerful people in the United States, and I will name them by name, Senator, whatever the name is, who was running for the president, who's supposed to be the president of the United States, Sanders. Look at what come out of his mouth. Senator Schumer from New York. What a loser. These are the most powerful people in the United States. So what do you respect? What do you respect? Let's change these people. Let's change these people. You cannot ridicule people who are fighting to bring their loved one back in the mouths of hyenas. What about if it happened to be your child? You're going to collapse? Good job? Or you're going to go look for your child? Let's get them out. I don't blame those people. I blame our system.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Simon. He's going to be here for a few moments at the end. There's no sound? Oh, the people in the live stream. Okay. All right. I will still elevate my voice here in the room. Simon, sir, we are honored. We thank you for your words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In a day and age where we have to tiptoe around the truth, I hope that you've been inspired that we cannot compromise the truth. We cannot compromise the truth if indeed we are going to say that we have hope for the release not only of the hostages in Gaza that are still in captivity, but also the very many slaves that are across the African continent. When you leave here today and leaving inspired, we hope, please leave knowing that you can do something, right? So we're here to hear, to listen, to learn, but then also to do. And one of the things that we would encourage you to please do is to read up more on the African Jewish Alliance. I would like to just tell you who are participants, or rather members of this particular alliance. We have the International Committee on Nigeria. They're an organization that have been doing a lot of work in terms of raising awareness of what is happening in Nigeria. For many of us that may not know, Nigeria is unfortunately a center of real genocide, where thousands upon thousands of Christians are being killed, and the world is saying very little about it. But here's an organization that's bringing it to the attention of those willing to listen. We have the Leah Foundation. I referenced earlier the young lady. She was kidnapped when she was 14 years old, excuse me. She was kidnapped when she was 14 years old, and she is still in captivity because she refuses to renounce her faith. We have Simon Deng, who we've just heard from. Thank you, sir. We have the Damanga Coalition for Freedom and Democracy. We also have the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. We have the American Anti-Slavery Group, the Jewish Leadership Project, as well as the American Veterans of Igbo Descent. So please look up the African Jewish Alliance, and there are ways in which to give. Also, if you go to the link that you may have used in order to RSVP for this event, there is a link there. And if I'm not mistaken, donations from that are going directly to the AJA. All right, so there is a way also in which you are able to contribute to the work that has just been established. All donations are tax deductible as we get various activities off on the ground. And then it's a question that I was asked by somebody earlier. In relation to the slaves specifically, what can you do? There are organizations that work actively to free slaves in this day and age. And so if you are wanting to be a modern day abolitionist, it is possible. If you reach out to any one of us at the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, we'll be able to give you information on how that can be done. And so there also is another practical way within which your hands and your heart and your pocket in that regard can free somebody literally today. All right, and on that note, if there's any other announcements?
Well, one last thing is that we have original artwork done by a very artist who's here right now, Miss Tara Spill. She has just moving pieces. You might have seen it when you walked in. Please feel free to go and check it out. And then Tara, why don't you let them know what you want to do in terms of what they can do if they want.
Up to you.
Okay, she keeps giving it back to me. So let's do this. If you're interested in any of the work, you can name your price, but anything you give will go to the African Jewish Alliance. Okay.
And it's a wonderful collage
yes.
of the similarities, the unfortunate similarity of captivity currently being experienced by Jews as well as Black people. It's quite moving.
Yeah, it is. Very moving pieces. So please do that. Again, thank you all so much for coming to this. Thank you, Simon, for coming all the way out.
I'm sorry, one last thing. There is an organization that helped put this together. I'd be remiss if I also did not encourage you that if you have a youngster who is in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, even grade 12 for the next few weeks, that needs to understand the truth and gain the courage and be exposed so that they too can do something in their youth, please, please, please speak to Leona. She's representing Club Z. She's our regional director. We've also got Marcy, who's an educator. They need a sign up. Honestly, Club Z, if I may brag, both on the West Coast as well as the East Coast, when many Jewish organizations were trying to figure out what they were going to do, where they're going to respond, are we going to be active? Are we going to be proud? Are we not? Club Z, those youngsters were on the front lines saying we are unapologetic about who we are. We're going to stand up. We're going to stand strong. And so please do. Please do speak to either Leona or Marcy or, of course, the esteemed Madame President for any information on that.
You guys
All
enjoy the refreshments. Please,
right.
We'll hope to see you again soon. And you guys have a good one.
A good night and Chag Sameach.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Mom. You press play on spot. You see it?